What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Echoes, a Notre Dame podcast. Mike Golick Jr., Jessica Smetana with you as always. Make sure you download, subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And, of course, follow us at the Echoes ND Pod on all social media. Jess, this is the big one today. So for people that are going to listen to this in its entirety, we thank you. You're going to hear a great interview with Notre Dame's all-time winningest quarterback, Ian Book, coming up in a little bit. We recorded that on Monday, as we did the rest of this podcast. It is still great. Plenty of awesome info about what it's like to make your first start in a hostile road environment, what it's like to play on the road in Miami, and all these things that are invaluable from one of the best Notre Dame quarterbacks of our lifetime. But Jess, we recorded that Monday and the whole podcast because of our schedules, knowing full well that we would actually will into existence exactly what happened for Notre Dame, as we got the announcement today. So we're re-recording this right after Notre Dame has announced that CJ Carr is in fact going to be QB1 for the Irish coming up this season. So Jess, not since the announcement of America's first the first American Pope from Chicago has there been a bigger announcement for Notre Dame fans this summer. So instant reaction from you, Jess. What does this mean for you?
Yeah, instant reaction. Well, first of all, not surprised at all that this happened. We had to re-record the whole top of our episode. This is exactly what I was expecting. But second reaction is I'm surprised, because if I had known this 2 weeks ago, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. CJ Carr had a really strong spring practice. We saw him in the spring game. He had a lot of nice passes. It seemed like Kenny Minchey was also playing well, but there was a lot of momentum for CJ Carr. But then after the last couple of weeks and some of the reports out of camp, and Notre Dame had a big scrimmage on Sunday, and there was a big press conference after with Marcus Freeman and Mike Denbrock. I was like, I really don't know. It really does seem like it's 50-50. And there were some reports that Kenny Minchey was just doing so well and that maybe they are just going to roll with him for week one. So I never, I'm glad I didn't buy into any of the smoke here and there, because it turns out no one really knows what the hell is going on except for Marcus Freeman and the coaching staff. And so I think going back to our first ever episode of The Echoes, I was like, I think CJ Carr will be the starter because the vibes feel like that's where it's heading. And, the vibes did shift a little bit for a minute, Mike, but at the end of the day here, like not surprised. Like he had a really great spring, and it seems like, the two were close. And at the end of the day, you gotta make the call. You gotta just pick one of them.
Yeah, that's kind of where I ultimately fell in this, Jess, is if it's close, you just got to use all the information you have and make a decision. So everyone can get over the initial sting of this, right? Because on both sides of this, there's going to be a reaction. For CJ Carr, this is the realization of the dream when he got onto campus here. He was a highly rated recruit. We know the background. And now to get named starter, there was a great article that Pete Sampson wrote the other day about Notre Dame quarterbacks when they got the news. And Dane Chris, my former buddy and teammate, talked about how emotional it was getting to call his parents and tell them that. Like, there is going to be this emotive response. Your life changes forever once you're the starting quarterback at a place like Notre Dame. And on the other side, for Kenny Minchey, who's still going to be a really important player for this team as the backup quarterback behind a starter who has not started any games, like, he's going to have to work through that sting of, hey, I was in a really heated competition and ultimately it didn't go my way. And that sucks. I've been on the wrong end of those. I've been the guy that's been told you're going to be a backup for this year. And it takes a little bit to get over that. And I think you want to give those guys room to process all of that this week while you're starting to go through that initial run of what the game plan is going to look like for Miami, so that next week when it's actually game week, you hit the ground running and everyone is full steam ahead on the job at hand.
Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, we have Ian Book coming on, who's been in a sort of similar position where he didn't win a camp battle, but ended up playing most of the season and had to stay locked in and stay ready. And I think the most important thing now for Kenny Minchey is that the staff is able to get that from him, because like you said, CJ Carr, both of these players have never started a game before. Like, this is going to be a really tough test for them in week one. I think the early bye week really helps Notre Dame in this case, because if you do win week one, that's great and awesome, but then you get a weekend off. If you lose that game, that really, really sucks, but you also get the weekend off and maybe you can retool a little bit. So either way, it sounds like both of these guys were well positioned to go in and win a game, and they were trusted, at least to an extent, by the staff. I think like a lot of fans are probably like not feeling amazing, because I think had they just announced Carr as the starter 2 weeks ago, everyone would be like, cool, sweet, great, we got a sick quarterback coming into week one. But I think knowing that like neither one really outshone the other and it was so close, I think you could read a negative into that. I mean, Denbrock kind of spun it positively in his press conference Sunday, which is like neither one's lost the job, but neither one's really won the job. So I guess like that's kind of a neutral read even, but
Sure.
either way, I mean, they just had to pick. They had to pick a person. We couldn't let this go on. We weren't going to pull another 2016 where Brian Kelly's like, "Hey, everyone's going to play,"
Yeah.
or 2025 Auburn Mike, who's like, "Everyone, we have 3 quarterbacks, including Deuce Knight, who Notre Dame fans might remember from that recruiting battle.
Yeah.
We got 3 quarterbacks, we got 3 play callers. Take your pick who you want. We got a lot of combinations here. So at least they're not doing that. That's a relief.
Yeah, and how they handle this going forward is going to be really interesting. Like, to your point, how much leash do you give CJ Carr now? What is that like? Do you want to just put him out there, let him get some lumps early on as he goes through the season? You mentioned that early bye, huge. Like, that jump for any team from week 1 to week 2 in the season is always huge. Getting to adjust after you've played a real life opponent, let alone a good one like Notre Dame's going to play in Miami, but especially for a young quarterback to have the time to go over those mistakes and sort of self-scout coming off that is going to be really important. Jess, I had a friend of ours comment to me, like, my reaction to all of this is quintessentially offensive line, which is, hey man, I understand there's going to be a lot of consternation about the quarterback situation for all the reasons that you just mentioned. As long as CJ can hand the ball off to 4, I feel like we got a good starting point, man. Like, we don't need to overcook this. Like, either of these guys was going to walk into a roster on offense that was markedly more capable than the one Riley Leonard walked into last year, right? Where you've got 6 career starts among the offensive line that now, oh, by the way, Notre Dame named captains we can get to, has 2 captains on it, Emil Wagner and Billy Schrauth. So you've got a ton of experience coming back there. You've got a tight end in Eli Raridan that everyone's saying is probably going to be the next Notre Dame NFL tight end, the way he's looked this offseason. Like, for Mike Denbrock being, maybe a little more coy about the quarterbacks, he was very bullish on Eli, and Mike Denbrock's coached great tight ends at Notre Dame before. So I'd say he knows a thing or two about that. You got a deep backfield. You got a wide receiver room that seems to have a bunch of good dudes in it now. So you are much more well insulated around the quarterback position with what feels like sure answers than last season, where you walked in knowing Riley played a bunch of high-level college football, but everything around him was a little bit more suspect.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you mentioned the captains. I'm just going to list off the 6 captains that were named this week. Emil Wagner, Adon Schuler, safety, Billy Schrauth, another lineman, Will Pauling, the transfer wide receiver from Wisconsin. That's a really interesting one. Someone with veteran experience, but, not often that you see a guy transfer in and be named captain right off the bat. It happened with Riley Leonard last year, but still not a super frequent thing, I guess. Donovan Heinisch, another Heinisch captain in the family, the Yinzer younger brother of Kurt Heinisch, and Drake Bowen, who I think no surprises there. He's going to be taking over that, Jack Kaiser leadership position in the linebackers room. So big week for Notre Dame, Mike. I'm really glad we got the opportunity to re-record this, because the energy coming off both of us right now, I feel like we both just chugged nitro cold brews. I know I did. And I'm really excited now that we finally know who the starting quarterback is going to be. There is also some injury news from camp I think we need to just briefly mention, as well as another position group battle that is still raging on, although maybe they will announce who the starting right guard will be when we're done recording this, and we'll have to come back in and announce that one, because that is super important to us. But Kedron Young out for the season with a torn ACL. Kevin Bauman, the tight end, also out with an ACL. He medically retired after yet another knee injury. So that is a huge bummer for him, and a big bummer for Young as well. We hope both of them have a speedy recovery. But like I mentioned, right guard, Sullivan Absher and Gerby Lambert battling it out. Both big boys, Mike, 6'8" and 6'7" listed on the roster. This is, as far as like position battles go, this is kind of the last one left, because we kind of expect safety to rotate around a little bit. But when it comes to offensive line, hopefully there's not a ton of rotation, because that means usually there's an injury or maybe something's not going super well. So what do you think about the Absher-Lambert little battle going on here?
Yeah, I love that we now have gotten the quarterback nonsense out of the way so we can clear the runway for the real position battle on offense that Notre Dame fans have been dying for a resolution to. But I think this speaks pretty highly of Lambert, just because Sullivan Absher was the one almost immediately. Like, I remember the quotes from Marcus Freeman and company when the injury to Charles Jagasaw happened, said Sullivan was the consensus. We're going to give him the first crack at this. And so for Lambert to be able to come in and play well enough throughout camp to earn the opportunity to go compete at this job, I think is pretty noteworthy. Joe Rudolph, again, did a really good job of developing the depth of this position that we saw last year. Early in experience, guys getting hurt, and no matter who stepped in there, it seemed like they were ready for the moment. So it's kind of just in a way like the quarterback thing where we don't know a lot from the outside because we haven't gotten to see a lot of this practice. So we default to, do I trust the people involved making this decision? And having played for Mike Denbrock, having been around Marcus Freeman a bunch, I trust them. And this is ultimately Marcus's decision, but we know all of them had a hand in this. The same way on the offensive line. Hey, after last year, I never played for Joe Rudolph, but I have a lot of trust and faith in what he laid down as far as the proof of his concept and how he goes about coaching that position in the way those guys are ready. So I feel good about either of those guys there, especially because you've got Emil, who was, I thought, the steadiest force on the offensive line last year on one side of you, and you got Ashton Craig coming back, who I think is a hell of a player at center too. So you've got a good group around whoever's going to be in that spot that's going to, one, make it better for the right guard, and going all the way back to the original thesis, make it a lot easier for the quarterback who's behind center now in CJ Carr.
And also, if our calculations are correct on the defense, this is an offense that hopefully will not need to score a lot of points to win most of their games. I mean, that is the hope, I think, in the expectation. So if you're a fan who's like feeling a little squirrely, like, I don't know what to think anymore. I thought it was going to be Carr, and then I thought it was going to be Minchey, and now it's Carr. I think that at least put your faith in the defense. I know I did last season, and it really helped out with some of my nerves when I was like, oh no, Notre Dame's going to play Navy. What are we going to do? No, it didn't matter.
It's a different place for us to be on that front, Jess. Like, it really is. Like, the amount of depth of talent on this roster that we saw come into play last year, like, I have to recalibrate my brain. I had that feeling this last week where going to bed one night, I was like, oh man, we're almost to the real games. Like, I'm starting to get nervous that all of my off-season bravado and good feelings are maybe going to fall flat week one. And then I kind of remembered, like, it feels like we're in a bit of a different place right now.
I know. I totally just jinxed us because we will lose to Navy now. And we have a little bit of a group of six snake bitten thing happening at Notre Dame lately. But, 11-1 with a loss to Navy would be the equivalent of what happened last season.
True.
You mentioned Denbrock. I just want to say, I listened to his press conference Sunday, and I can best describe it, Mike, as a type 5. He gets in there. He cracks jokes. He's super chill. He seems like he's got no worries. I mean, the only thing he was like emotional about was talking about how Elijah Burris is so frustrating because he's so talented, but he doesn't have mastery of the playbook yet. Otherwise, he's just like sitting there chilling. And I don't know. I love to hear that. I love to hear that there's just like so much raw talent in the room that it's like, yeah, we just got to get some of the younger guys to learn the playbook, and we'll have even more weapons. So very not what's the word I'm looking for? Not as interesting as a press conference on Sunday as people were hoping. Notre Dame instead was like, let's just drop an Instagram picture, and that's how we're going to do it. We're going to just post it on social media, not let the coaches say anything Sunday.
Hey, you know what? Chestnut checkers. Monday, you had a lot of Notre Dame quarterbacks named coming off the weekend, right? Steve Angeli got named as a starting quarterback for Syracuse over the weekend. Ohio State announced Julian Sayin on Monday. So you got all those announcements out of the way. And now Tuesday, Notre Dame's going to dominate the news cycle with the CJ Carr conversation. So chestnut checkers from one of the biggest brands in the sport. What can I say?
Before we hit up Ian Book and ask him about all of his thoughts on all of this, Mike, there was some news out of another Big Ten school. You mentioned Ohio State. I will now bring up Michigan. The cheating scandal has come to a close. The advanced scouting, sign stealing, Conor Stallions, Michigan Manifesto saga, whatever you want to call it. It's over. The NCAA announced their penalties. They said that Jim Harbaugh is getting a 10-year show cause, which it doesn't matter. No one cares. An additional game suspension for Sherrone Moore that he'll serve next season. And then a financial penalty, which I think there is some debate over how much that can and will actually hurt Michigan. But here is my take on all of this, because I know Notre Dame fans are really annoyed that Michigan got away with it and they won the national championship game. All right, fine. If you're not going to penalize them and take away their national championship game or vacate wins or whatever, NCAA, just give Notre Dame their wins back then. Just give us our wins back. Mike played in all those games. They happened, okay? We want our wins back. So just do whatever stupid wrist slap you want to do to Michigan, but give us our wins back and maybe we'll move on. Probably not, but maybe we'll move on.
maybe we'll think about it. Like, I understand there is the technicality of you only vacate wins in the instances where ineligible players were involved in playing. And this was obviously coach-led impropriety, Conor Stallions-led impropriety at Michigan with everything that went on. But I'm with you. If you're the NCAA, like, all of this happened because now the NCAA is a weak little baby. Like, they can't do anything. Michigan made it clear the same way Tennessee did before their sanctions came down, that if you don't give us the outcome we want, if you give us a postseason ban, we're going to appeal it. And if that appeal doesn't work, we're going to get litigious. And the NCAA versus lawyers has not gone very well as of late. They're on their dying day. The College Sports Commission's getting ready to take over all the penalty stuff. And so on your way out, just be like a president on the way out of office and just start pardoning people. Give us back the wins. Like Jess said, I'd love to have those back on the mantle. They were there. They were fun. My body hurt a little bit during all of that. So I'd at least like to be able to point back to them in the record books when it's all said and done. I think that's the least y'all could do.
Yeah. And also, I don't count them as vacated. Most fans don't count them as vacated, but they are like what people use as records. I mean, Auburn is now claiming a bunch of NCAA claimed national titles that weren't AP national titles. So if they can do that, whatever. Just people do go off of the record book and they are vacated. And I don't care that it's because there was ineligible players, because Notre Dame self-reported some tutor writing papers or whatever. All of this is made up. None of this is real. And the NCAA could change the rules if they wanted to tomorrow and no one cares. So give us our wins back. And I'm sick of hearing about Conor Stallions. And last thing on that, if Ohio State or Michigan State or Notre Dame or any other college football program had some guy doing this elaborate advanced scouting sign stealing thing, call him Joey Mustang, I don't care what his name is, Michigan fans would be furious, because Michigan fans are like, we are Michigan men, we do everything the right way. So I don't want to hear from Michigan fans who are like, oh, like, we didn't do nothing, everyone's just mad, why are you big mad at us? It's like, you would do the same thing if it was any of the teams you don't like. And that is how college football works. Okay, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, that's the whole history of the sport. And honestly, like, the main takeaway from this is, you're right, we can debate what the severity of these financial penalties actually mean in this day and age, especially now with rev share and all the NIL money that's going towards players.
Especially now that Michigan is like, hey, Bryce Underwood, we'll give you $1 jillion from some random Oracle guy if you come play with us. And he's like, okay.
Right. Like, the Michigan money cannon is well known, very useful, and effective as of late. So, yeah, we can debate all that. But I do think overall, you're right. Like, this reinforces what's been true for the history of the sport, which is flirt with the line and finding a little way to cheat has always been something that's worth it as long as you win. Like, I mean, we've seen that go on our entire lifetime. True. And so and this is one of those spots, like, when it was going on, like, again, I have former player brain sometime where I'm like, all right, I kind of know how the signaling works in the sport. I know everyone's trying to kind of find a way to go and steal another team signs by any means. But then at the end of the day, you can only do so much with that once you get on the field in certain situations. Like, I think there is a point where that only helps you so much. And Michigan got caught before a lot of their big games at the end of the season. Like, there's a million competitive ways to where I look at this and I go, all right, in all seriousness, I don't look at this as the most egregious thing that's ever happened, but there is no denying that every fan base would be pissed at their rival if they found out they did this.
Yes. So we are going to now move on to our conversation with Ian Book before I get even more riled up about your argument about Michigan, because I have a lot of thoughts. And we are going to move on to our interview with my buddy Ian Book, our buddy, friend of the podcast now, the winningest quarterback in Notre Dame history, like you said, Super Bowl champion Ian Book, someone who knows what it's like to be in a QB battle at ND. Like we said, a couple of the questions feel a little dated now, but bear with us because there's some good stuff in here. So listen to the whole thing, and then at the end of that, you'll hear some more Notre Dame homer opinions about the WNBA Rookie of the Year contest by yours truly. So stay tuned. A lot more to go in this podcast, but congrats to CJ Carr. We finally know who QB1 is.
Work on your Carr puns for this season, everybody. Let's get to it. All right, this is a ton of fun. If we're going to talk about Notre Dame quarterback competitions and that position in general going into this season, we may as well talk to the man on the mountaintop for that at Notre Dame, the all-time winningest quarterback in Notre Dame history and Super Bowl champion with the Philadelphia Eagles. Ian Book, kind enough to join us now here. Ian, what's going on, brother? Good to see you.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Excited to talk a little Notre Dame football, so appreciate it.
I think we need to start by getting addressing the elephant in the room, that is, which is who is going to be the starting quarterback this season, Ian? Do you know? Can you break the news for us on this podcast?
I can't break the news, but what I can tell you is that I think both the guys are doing an awesome job. it's exciting that there's a competition. I think that truly brings the best play out of both of them. They've both done an awesome job. I'm excited. I think you kind of have their different traits, which is exciting, but I truly believe whoever wins this battle could win games for Notre Dame. And that's exciting to me. So it's the talk of the town. And I imagine we hopefully hear soon. But whoever it is, I truly feel confident we can go down to Miami and win us a game and come back. So I'm excited for it. But they've done a great job, and I enjoy being back and being somewhat of a mentor to them. And I told them any questions they have, just hit me up. I'm here to help. And I'm in the locker room with the guys, and I ask them after every day what they thought of practice and what they need to get better at. So it's been awesome.
It's nice, and I feel like in recent years we've seen a lot of that very publicly, like the former Notre Dame quarterbacks giving games to the guys stepping into that role. And that was, Sam Hartman talked about, talking with Jimmy Clausen about what the job entails here. What have you told them about just how things change once you become the starting quarterback for Notre Dame, between the outside attention, what's expected of you internally on that campus? Like, what is your advice on that front about how your life kind of changes once you get handed those keys?
Yeah, I guess I just tell them, and they get it. Like, you truly don't know what it's like until it happens to you. And I just tell them the enjoyment of football is the reason you're playing it, is to have fun. And this thing gets pretty serious. It's even more of a business now with NIL and money that I didn't get. So, so I'm like, it's more of a business, and these guys get it. And I'm like, look, there's so much outside noise. I truly think that was one of the best things that I was like good at. And I had help, but I always joke around to my parents, like, I thought everybody liked me in Notre Dame. I didn't know I had any haters. Like, I did a good job of like ignoring the noise. Like, I only cared about what the guys in the locker room thought about me and how I played in between the lines. And that's truly it. And that helped me a ton of just blocking it out. I wasn't on my social media. I had help from Notre Dame. I didn't see any of the bad comment. I just didn't do that. It wasn't worth it for my own mental health. So I tell these guys, like, enjoy every snap, have fun with it, take it play by play, be the best teammate you can be, and just ignore the noise. Like, truly nobody knows what's going on. And now that I'm on the outs, people really don't know what's going on. So just play, and the coaches will make the right decision for these guys. And I think the biggest thing I've been telling them this whole camp is have fun, like, smile. This is a game that you've been playing since you were a kid because you liked it. And if it gets too much of a business for you, you start to lose the enjoyment. And that's the worst part.
Yeah. So you were able to tune out the outside noise, but I imagine the inside noise when you're playing somewhere at your first start, say somewhere like Hard Rock Stadium where you played, that's a lot harder to tune out. And I think a lot of the anxiety from ND fans right now is that this first game for one of these quarterbacks is going to be in a really tough road environment. So what is the advice you're giving them about that and starting their first game somewhere where there's going to be a lot of fans screaming at them right off the bat?
Yeah, it's truly hard. And I think the best thing is like experience, which obviously both of them don't have. That's always nice to get that experience and understand that once you play at Miami and then you go play Georgia and at Michigan and all these places, you start to get numb to it. When it's your first time, I told both of the guys, try not to be Superman. Like, that was my advice. If you go down there, especially with this team, this roster's fantastic. I'm very impressed. You got a Heisman Trophy winner, running back, maybe, lock first rounder, offensive line's unbelievable. Like, go down there and play the quarterback position, distribute the ball to the playmakers, be a great leader. Week one is all about efficiency, not sloppy penalties and getting in out of the huddle the right way. With the nerves, things happen. I get that. But, like, go down there and be a game manager. Like, we don't need you to be a superhero. I remember one time when I was playing in New Orleans, Sean Payton said something I thought was so cool. He was like, Trevor Siemian was playing. I was going to be the backup. Both Taysom and James were out that week. And he told Trevor, he goes, Trevor, I'm going to get you in the right situation. I need you to make 3 to 5 plays this game. That's it. Everything else I'm going to get open for you. And I just need you to do what we've practiced the last, 5-6 months. So I need you to make 3 to 5 plays for me with it, with a nice ball or, getting out of the pocket and doing something like that. Other than that, just play within the system. And I thought that was super cool. Trevor did that. We ended up beating the Bucks. So I kind of think of it like that for week 1 at Miami. It's going to be hostile, but the nerves are going to be insane. Just try to settle in and just run the offense that you've been doing all camp and try not to make every single throw and every crazy window. Just like go through progression, check the ball down to number 4. You'll be all right.
Yeah, when in doubt, get the ball to number 4 seems like a good strategy until proven otherwise early this season for Notre Dame. But specifically with Miami, Jess mentioned, you were on the team the last time we went down there. Obviously, we all got games we don't like reliving. But what do you remember about that environment that these guys are going to be walking into coming in week 1?
I remember it's almost like the Beats commercial a long time ago with Kaepernick when he puts the Beats on and everything goes quiet. Like as he's going into the stadium, I think it was. I had my Beats on going into the stadium and the bus window in front of me gets shattered. So a Miami fan threw a beer bottle through our bus.
Jesus.
So we're 3 hours before kickoff and there's glass shattered in front of me. I was like, oh, wow. You mean fans flipping us off? I mean, the whole thing. And I'll never forget at Miami, we walk in and they have club seats down there.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, they don't ever sell out anything for the Dolphins. And we show up and everything was sold out. It was like a beach party. There was beach balls going around. It was people were in like bathing suits. I was like, this is crazy. And there was this little kid and he was sitting in the box seat with his rich dad and he was flipping us off. He was probably 8 years old. And I remember looking at, I think it was Tommy or Kramer. I can't remember. I was like, this is crazy. Look at this kid. Like, what? And then it was so loud. Couldn't hear anything. And then I remember like actually having a pretty good drive when I went in there. I threw a whole shot to Equinemius, started to drive down the field, thinking we'd maybe get 3 points or something before half, and then threw a pick 6. Welcome to the turnover chain. So that was my experience, but it was hostile. And I remember until we went down to Georgia, it was the loudest place. Honestly, it might be louder than Georgia.
Wow.
I was like top 2 loudest places I've ever played in my career.
Louder than Michigan?
Yeah. Louder than Michigan.
Blacksburg?
Louder. Yeah. It was more of a party, if that makes sense. Every famous person in the world was there.
Sense.
The Rock, Kevin Hart, a couple baseball players. They were all announcing them. And then we gave them the momentum. And then that was truly, I think that was the first year of the turnover chain. First or second year.
Oh,
so
yeah. We all remember what that was like.
So Brandon and I had a tough day.
Do you guys ever text about it and like trauma bond? Like, hey,
it's over. We forgot about it. That's one thing I try to teach these young QBs. I've already forgotten about Miami.
You mentioned you and Brandon, though. I think that's one of the things that's always interesting for people on the outside when you look at a quarterback battle like this or a room where both guys have gotten in the field. Like, how do you describe that dynamic that goes on between these two guys where it's a zero-sum game? Quarterback's one of those positions where only one guy's out on the field at any given time. And so how do you sort of approach that relationship between the two of you while that goes on?
It's different for each person. I think Brandon and I's personality was like essentially we're both pretty chill people. I think Brandon and I we kicked it off early. He was already a friend of mine. We both were smart enough to know that one quarterback plays. Yeah. And I just felt like Brandon and I kind of nipped it in the bud early. Like, look, man, it's you versus me here. We're different players. We're really good buddies on the team, but one of us is going to win this thing. So I think because of our personalities, we made it work that way. But I've seen competitions in the NFL and in college that don't work that way. And it's not, I don't think it's like in bad blood or anything, but sometimes people have a hard time being friends with someone they're competing with. I don't feel that with this competition at Notre Dame. They seem like they're totally fine, but Brandon and I's was different just because I think it was just who we are. And I was like, look, man, if you're better than me, I tip my hat to you anyway. So he had that same type of vibe. So that was cool. But I've seen it the other way where people can't even talk to each other. It just depends who you are.
What was it like for you going into 2018 when Brandon was the starter, but you had to sort of stay mentally prepared and physically prepared, knowing that you might end up starting games later on in the season? How did you do that?
I remember being pretty frustrated. I was probably the most frustrated I've ever been in Notre Dame. I felt like playing in that LSU game, starting in the second quarter and winning with a one-handed catch by Miles and getting some momentum into camp. I do believe Brandon played better than me that next camp, but I didn't feel like it was truly a 50-50 battle. Maybe that's just the way I see it. But I remember being pretty pissed That was like the first time I've ever like been very frustrated because you get a little taste of playing and you have some success a little bit and you're like, now I got to sit again for 3 weeks, you know, and it ends up working out, staying patient, like you said, and getting the nod week 4. But that was the most like upset I've been here at Notre Dame. I think for me, I knew I was super close to playing no matter what. So my thing the whole entire time was every time I get a rep, just pretend I'm the starting quarterback. Because one, I'm either going to play this year because of injuries, or two, I'm going to play because, you know, it's my chance again. So I would essentially, the hardest part about being a backup QB is watching the one or two take, if you're third or whatever it is, second, watching them take reps and like messing around in the back, talking to somebody, not focusing, because that is truly a mental rep that you can get. And it's hard to do it for a 2-hour practice in the heat and camp. But if you can like each play kind of start over, watch this. Okay, what is Brandon seeing? Change of protection, Nichols blitzing, hit the hot, whatever. That's a nice rep. So at least you saw it and you went through it. And it's hard to do. I will admit, it's hard to do. Sometimes you lose focus back there. But that was like my biggest thing. Lock in for every play, even if it's not mine. And when I got the nod week 4, I essentially stepped up with the starters, but I've already taken all those reps that Brandon has just mentally. So that's what I would say.
It's a good lead into the conversation that's going on right now, though, about the importance of reps. Like as of when we're recording this, we're 2 weeks out from the first game for Notre Dame. You know, again, this could be dated by the time people hear it if they make a decision early this week. But even that, the importance of when the starter is named in camp so that whoever is going to be the one does start to get those reps. Like in that 2 weeks leading up to the first game for you, once you're the established starter, once you know, like how important are each of those in getting ready as people on the outside start to get kind of antsy about whoever is going to be the one player having enough time to get ready for that in the way you just described?
Yeah. Since it's been a 50-50 battle, I think those guys have gotten a ton of reps. You know, the guys that maybe haven't gotten enough reps this year, if you run out of reps, but it's probably the third quarterback because it's a true 50-50 battle. These guys are getting reps as they should. With these 2 weeks, you know, they start prepping for Miami. You know, there's a whole science on when you want to name a starter. I see both ways, but I just think for both those guys, and they do it. I've been out there and seen like they do it. I see them back there kind of going through the motions like as they're, you know, they switch off days or whatever it is. So if you're the guy that's not getting it that day, I see him back there going through the read and kind of going through his progression. That's in the rep. And in college, you know, reps, you need every rep you can get, especially in the NFL, as you know, like the rep, if you're a 2, you might not get any reps, you know? So as a 3, I would do all those reps just in the back behind the guys. So it's very key. These guys understand it though. I'm very impressed with both of their maturity, to be honest with you.
How would you describe the difference in how they play as someone who's been able to watch a lot more of them than we have been able to?
I think both these guys throw the ball really well. It's funny, you know, I'll be honest, I struggle right now evaluating talent as an outsider. It's weird. I've never seen the game from sideline ever, like up. So I was with Bivin or whatever, and I'm like, these guys look massive. Did I used to do this?
I'm glad I'm not the only one. These guys all look gigantic now when you're out there.
Are they bigger?
I think they are bigger, actually.
Are they though?
I think
because
Marcus said we're going to out-meet everyone this year, and I think he meant that.
There were some scouts at practice that said, hands down, roster, not even close, looked better than Michigan and Ohio State. So.
Oh, wow.
But I would just say, like, yeah, they make like a 40-yard sideline hole shot throw, and I'm standing right there. It looks insane. And I'm like, wait, I could do that too. I just never see it from this view. So I struggle with it that way because everything, I also give the QB the benefit of the doubt. I am like the worst because even if it's a bad throw, I'm like, could have been a better route, you know? So I give these guys, I cut them a lot of slack because I get it. Like it's so hard. But I would say they're different. They both throw the ball better than I think I threw the ball back then. It's just a guess. But like their arm strength, arm angles, arm path, and ability to throw off schedule, to me is pretty good for both of them. Like I think they both can do it. I wouldn't say any of them like arm wise are below one or the other. They're both athletic, which is awesome. I think they can get out of trouble if they need to. And then, you know, I feel like they've done a really good job of being leaders, like stepping up. I've seen them run that huddle, and that's huge as QBs who haven't played, you got to show the rest of the offense you're confident, or else it'll be a huge problem come Miami when the guys can barely hear you 3 feet away and then you're in there being all quiet because you're nervous. They've done a good job of taking over the huddle. I hear them screaming out protections and hey, no, bring it down here, like you're in the wrong spot, like stuff like that. That's hard to do if you're uncomfortable, but these guys are showing some confidence. So those are kind of the 3 things I think they all have. And that's why I'm truly giving you the political answer. But I think they could both win. They could both go down and beat Miami. I do believe that.
Well, I think for you, Ian, correct me if I'm wrong, you missed Mike Denbrock by a year at Notre Dame, right? Was he there recruiting you, or did you have him?
I had him my freshman year. I was just redshirting. So not a great season for Notre Dame. And then a bunch of people left. And
yeah, that was 2016 for those who can't do the math off the
we
top
were
of their heads.
4-8 with an impressive roster.
Yeah.
That was a weird experiment for me. And quarterback coach gone, defensive coordinator gone, offensive coordinator gone right then. So crazy.
And now Daniel Jones is battling in camp against Riley Leonard. Everything comes full circle, Mike. Ian, I think one of the things that the fans may get hung up on, depending on who is named the quarterback starter, is the recruiting aspect of it, because CJ Carr obviously came into Notre Dame as an early enrollee with a lot more hype. You are someone who came into Notre Dame as a 3-star recruit and beat out other quarterbacks who were higher star rated recruits than you were. So is that just something fans shouldn't really care about once a guy gets to campus, or like when does that really stop mattering?
I think it matters, but I think when you get to Notre Dame, nobody cares, at least in the locker room. You might get the first chance at the first couple reps, but you could lose it pretty quick if you're not as good as maybe you said you were. I think it's good to rank people, and I think it's fine, but I think when you get here, especially in the NFL, it doesn't matter at all. You could win the Heisman. If you don't perform, you'll be gone. You do get more chances in the NFL if you're a first rounder because the people who drafted you want to be right. But in college, I imagine now with NIL, it's similar. I mean, imagine you pay somebody a lot. You probably want him to be the guy. So you aren't a GM or a coach that misses all the time. That's important for your own pride. But I think guys, when they get in the locker room, like true teammates, don't care as much. I don't think they care at all. So, it's not a huge deal in between the lines. Like, just need somebody to perform. So for someone like me, I wanted to play and I stayed patient. And I know it's a different game now. These guys are leaving. But for me, I was getting my degree here. I was staying patient. I threw with the guys. I knew I could throw with the best of them. I knew I had a chance to play. I had to be patient. It's hard. So I don't think the guys care as much in the locker room as maybe fans might.
No, yeah, I can double stamp that and say as soon as you wind up in there, man, you're working with everybody else here. Everyone wants at that point just the best person out on the field because your goal is to win once you get there. We don't care how you really got there. And so I think that's always an interesting dynamic in the locker room. I do want to go back to the Denbrock point. So you had an introduction to Mike as a player, and now seeing the work that he's done back here, a year under his belt in South Bend, the work he's doing with these guys. What have you taken away from his approach to talking to quarterbacks? What do you remember about your time as a player that makes Coach Denbrock really well suited for either of these guys to come in and have success?
Yeah, I like Coach Denbrock a lot. I mean, my freshman year, like I said, was a little bit of an interesting year, probably pretty stressful for everybody. I was redshirting, wasn't getting much reps, but we were fine. He was cool. I liked his system, and then had to learn a new one that summer. But so far, kind of being back as an outsider, I think he's a great leader. I love his approach to the game. I think he sees the field fantastic. Obviously, resume speaks for itself. He's done a great job. And then when you talk to the guys, that's what matters, right? Do your guys respect your coach? They all are like, hey, we love Denbrock, man. Great coach. I think he sees it well. And he gets he gets the key players the ball at the right time. He finds a way to get the guys open, and he uses, like, when you look at your roster and you're a play caller, that's what it's about. The best play callers are like, this is our best player. How do we get him open when people are going to be focused on him, right? How do we do that? And I think he does a really good job of that. So I'm excited to see how he does this year, especially with these QBs who have had minimal reps and are going to have to take the team over. That's when you got a good coordinator. Truly, I think you could play a younger quarterback with less experience and make him look good. That's a good coordinator.
I know you're not watching the other position groups as much as the quarterbacks while you're out there working out with the guys, but do you have any insight on some maybe dark horse wide receiver talent that fans should be looking out for who are making good plays in practice?
I don't, but I think I've noticed that there are more receivers stepping up. So there's more quantity of receivers who can play for us.
That's good.
I feel like instead of one or two guys, right, or one guy that has kind of taken it, although this year there's going to need to be a receiver or two that truly takes the 1-2 role. I think they're looking for that. I just feel like I'm watching and I'm seeing 5, 6 guys that like will play this year and have some big catches for us. So I think depth has been something that's pretty awesome at receiver. So good job on recruiting. I don't know if there's like one guy where I'm like, it's kind of, I'll be honest too. I've been to 3 practices, I've gone to the scrimmages. So 3 scrimmages. I wanted to see the live action. I'm there every day, getting my workout in and talking to them. So that's been awesome to kind of get the locker room buzz and just be in there and be with the guys and be a mentor. But in terms of practices, I've been to 3, so I'm not out there watching tape with them. So I don't have that much scoop.
We got to try to get the scoop when we can, Ian.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I just enjoy being back, and I appreciate them letting me be in there. It's a true honor, and I just feel good about the team, and I just struggle with like comparing my teams versus these. It's super hard. It's different every year. So I do feel like depth at receiver though is something that it looks pretty good to me.
When you talk about need 1 or 2 guys to step up, I feel like this is a debate. In the NFL, a lot of people talk about this with the Green Bay Packers, where you got a bunch of really interesting receivers in a room, but maybe not one alpha yet. That's what they hope Matt Golden will be for them. How much does that matter for you at quarterback to have that 1 or 2 guys that you can call on in the spot? Like, where does that pay off the most for you?
It's so important it's super important. And I think that's what these QBs are going to want and they're going to need, frankly, whether it's, Jaden Greathouse or Malachi, like who's your guy on third down when it's 50-50? We know it's man. Like I need a guy. For me, I've had a few, and that's why I felt that we had success. Like on third down, a 50-50 ball with Chase Claypool wasn't 50-50. It was a 70-30, and maybe even more. Like that guy, I felt super comfortable going to him on a man-to-man matchup when, maybe the front or the picture looks muddy, but I know I got Chase one-on-one, I'm taking it. So as a QB, it's a huge confidence boost knowing it's third down, need a play immediately. Who do I got? And, so far in the first couple games, this is the guy, I'm going to him. And then once you get 1 or 2 of those guys, it reminds me of like my time at the Eagles. Like Jalen can drop back and truly know AJ, Devontae, or Dallas Goedert's going to be open. That's why you win Super Bowls. So I think having a guy is amazing. Having 2 guys is truly a national championship run, in a win.
You sort of touched on the NIL and rev share aspect of things now with managing.
I don't want to talk
team.
about
it. How salty are you that you just missed out on maybe like a Barnes and Noble NIL deal, like Ian books of the week? I mean, there's so many things we could have done with your last name, Ian. I imagine it probably kind of sucks, right?
It stings. I'm happy though. I'm happy the guys are getting paid. I think they deserve it. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm in the locker room getting ready to go do my own workout, and someone's talking about the new Mercedes truck or whatever. I'm like, I can't. And then they're talking about their agents and financial advisors. Like that wasn't something I even had to think about until you get to the NFL. And you just hope financial literacy, that they're smart with their money, because I do believe they deserve it. And this is part of the game now, right? It's not going away. I'm jealous, but I try to help them. And they're doing a little NIL payback. It's better than nothing, but I'm definitely jealous. So, like these guys are talking about, the house they got, or they're doing rental properties now. Super cool opportunity to, get in front of these guys, especially the kid that we recruit at Notre Dame, and save your money and teach them, how to invest in certain things. Like that's a whole new role that could be a positive in this aspect. So I'm happy for the guys. I don't think they truly understand the value of a dollar, and they might not until that money stops coming in, and that's part of it. But if you can get in front of them early, the only thing I do worry about is that, but also like, these maybe financial advisors or something getting on these guys and, and they don't understand how much these guys are charging them. It's like, you just hope they have, a right mentor or parent that can help them navigate this, because they truly have money that is life changing if you handle it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, how big a transition was that for you? I mean, that used to be for all of us, college to the NFL is when that jump gets made here. Like, do you remember what the learning curve was like for you in terms of this all of a sudden becoming a profession and all the other entities it takes to make that work?
Yeah, big adjustment. You learn about taxes very, very quick. You learn about, financial advisors, and, I feel very fortunate. I had parents that were, taught me how to save when I was younger, and the moment I got like my first paycheck or signing bonus, whatever it was, they were on me pretty quick. So, I've tried to do a really good job of saving money, and I feel like really lucky that I had someone like that. Some people don't, and you see people get taken advantage of, and it's the scary part of the business. But I learned about taxes very quick, and then I learned about investing very quick. So two things that are, one sucks, one's good.
What's it like winning the Super Bowl?
Very fun. Yeah, very fun. I feel, again, I think going to a Super Bowl is one of the most rare things. Going to two of them is even more rare. So I just feel like I've been so blessed to be on winning football teams kind of my whole career. Hopefully I'm a little bit of a good luck charm, but staying ready, like we just talked about staying ready. Like, I stayed ready for my Notre Dame career. It worked. I've stayed patient and ready. I train alone by myself. I mean, I'm at Notre Dame, which is fantastic, but like, not easy, right? Every day I go in there and I work out, and I got to get receivers, and I do arm therapy with nobody calling me. And I had to wait last year till December. So could have given up a long time ago, but that's not something I want to do. So it's fun. I enjoy throwing and staying ready. And then I think being at that Super Bowl to me was like a full circle moment. I played for the Chiefs, played for the Eagles when we played the Chiefs in 22 and lost. And you never think you're going back. 2 years later, I get called. I get to go back. I get to play the Chiefs again, get to win in that fashion. And we played in New Orleans, where I started off my career and got drafted. It was like a total full circle moment. I pretty much knew every player on both teams, and it was crazy. And then just to win that way, like, that team should go down as one of the best teams ever. And, I'm just, hey, maybe I can get called again. So I'm going to stay ready this whole entire year and see how it goes. But staying patient. It's worked out.
It's tough, but it's rewarding, as you've certainly seen and experienced already. So awesome, and always rooting for you on that front, obviously. But you mentioned the amount of quality teams, coaches, players that you've been around at the highest level of this sport. Is there something you've seen that's like the common thread among these teams that have done all the winning in the NFL recently? And like,
Yeah.
Is that something you've seen from Marcus Freeman? Is there something that you look and go, all right, that's a really good sign at this level if you're doing what I've seen work for Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni and these guys in the NFL?
Yeah, the two things I think I see in every team that's very successful is like a supreme confidence from top down. I felt that in Philly. Like, it was crazy. Even in 22 when we lost, it was like we went 13-0. It was like we were just winning every game. It maybe in a slow start, it was like, here we go, we'll win. Just wait. Here we go, just wait, and then we would win. It was crazy. Same thing. And when I got there in this last year, I got there and we go to the playoffs. Everything just felt. I never felt so confident in the Super Bowl. Seriously,
wow.
I was like, this team is best O-line, quarterback playing at the top of his game, best running back in the NFL. Two receivers, and then third receiver is Jahan Dotson, another first rounder. Like, any of those guys get open. Dallas Goedert, and then the number one defense. I think that was scoring defense or turnover defense. Like, it was ridiculous. And then the second thing I think I've seen, especially in Philly and in Kansas City, was like connectiveness. Is that a word?
Connectivity, I guess.
Yeah, like the guys hang out, and the NFL's a business, right? And you've been on teams. I've been on teams where people show up, and when the meeting's over, they immediately go home. In Philly, everybody hung out. And that was something that Sirianni preached. He was like, look, this is a business. You guys are grown men. You guys got a lot of money. But like, we need to hang out as a team and get to know each other, because that does matter on the field. And it's hard to kind of describe it. But when you get on the field and you love the dude next to you, you're going to work a little bit harder, whether you know it or not, and give that extra step, the extra detail, whatever it is. The amount of ping pong, the amount of basketball, the amount of, just away trips, hanging out, like the flights, like stuff like that. The guys it's a close group, and that team has been, Howie's done an amazing job. That team is the same team in 22 as it is this year, and just getting better and better and adding key pieces. And he only brings in guys that are going to fit that mold, which I think is awesome. You could be an awesome player, but if you're not going to fit in with the locker room, I'm not sure he'd take you. So, I think about that with Freeman. And college is different, but I'm in the locker room. They're playing ping pong all the time. They're hanging out. I feel like the guys are really close. NFL is different, but in college, being close with the guys is like the easiest. It's like so fun. But I think that and supreme confidence are like the two things I see every time in a winning culture. And Freeman's doing that. He truly is. I like Freeman a lot.
Do you sense any sort of difference then when Brian Kelly was the head coach, when you were there, like culture-wise?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I think they're different in their own ways. I thought Kelly did a really good job of kind of like being the CEO and running the program. And then Freeman's a little bit more of a player's coach, different approach, does an awesome job in recruiting. So they're definitely different. I will say they both have mentioned like hanging out with the guys. Again, I think it's easier in college to hang out with guys, so even more impressive in the NFL. But I mean, the bonds you make in college, that's a huge deal. And if everybody's hanging out, like it just matters, and it's hard to kind of put a value to it, but it's everything. I think both coaches do that, and that's why Kelly won a lot of games. That's why Freeman won a lot of games.
We hope he certainly is able to keep that up now here. Ian, ton of fun hanging out with you here today, man. Certainly great reliving some of the good days, looking at what this team can do this season. And I know folks always happy to see you back around South Bend, but hopefully very soon that is not the case, and you're off on another team that's going to get the Ian Book boost towards the Super Bowl in the NFL, man. So thanks so much for the time today, brother. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
You can hang with us anytime.
If you love Wendy's classic Frosty flavors, we have got some big news for you. There are all new Frosty Swirl and Frosty Fusion flavors. So, yeah, it's the same creamy treat that you've always loved, now with a flavor refresh. So what are these new flavors?
Well, Stoner, thanks for asking. There are a lot, so I'm just going to list them, okay? We've got the Frosty Swirls, strawberry, brownie batter, and caramel. Then we've got the blended Frosty Fusions, caramel crunch, Oreo brownie with swirl thick brownie batter sauce and crunchy Oreo cookie pieces, and Pop-Tarts, strawberry with a street strawberry sauce and chunks of crazy good Pop-Tarts pieces.
You know your flavors. Not to mention that, yes, you can still get your classic vanilla. Try them all and find your favorite.
Are you going to be a strawberry swirl girl, a caramel craze fanatic, brownie batter buff, Pop-Tart strawberry fanatic, Oreo brownie stan?
These are all really, really good questions, Mark. Anyway, whatever flavor you're craving, odds are we've got a Frosty for it. So check in for sweet treat time with Wendy's all new Frosty flavors. A refresh on a classic, gotta be Wendy's.
Welcome back to the Echoes podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the episode so far, but we're not done yet, Mike, because I have something very important that I want to bring up, and it involves the sport of basketball. It involves a Rookie of the Year race in the WNBA that is, I think, closer than people are treating it right now. So I'm going to give you a couple numbers. We're going to go through this quickly because this is an audio mostly forum, and this is a lot of numbers. So bear with me. We're going to do it fast, but there's 2 players in the WNBA right now. One player is averaging 15 points per game, 4.4 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists per game. They have a 41% three-point percentage, a 54% effective field goal percentage, and a 60% true scoring percentage. Of all of those stats, only 2 of those are lower than player B. Player B has more points per game, higher assist average per game, but lower true scoring, lower field goal efficiency, etc. Player A, win share per 48 minutes, 0.172. Player B, win share per 48 minutes, 0.168. Very close. Very, very close. Head-to-head, player A has won 2 games to 0 against player B and has also played in more games. Also, net rating and clutch minutes for player A, 3. Net rating for player B, negative 28.0. That is somewhat crazy, and I think owing to a smaller sample size. But my point is about all of this, some of these numbers are very close. And yes, player A is Sonia Citron, and player B is Paige Beckers. And Paige Beckers currently is the runaway favorite for Rookie of the Year in the WNBA. And I am not saying that she is not a transcendent basketball player, because she is. I'm not saying that she is not worthy of Rookie of the Year, because she certainly is. And I'm not saying that I don't enjoy watching her play, because I do. I think she's fantastic. I really do love watching her play. And Wings games have been much more viewable in the last few months because of the heater she's been on. However, I am saying it is close. In the Washington Mystics, who have Sonia Citron, traded their starting point guards, Brittany Sykes, and Sonia Citron's numbers have only gone up. She's averaging more than 19 points per game since Brittany Sykes was traded to the Storm. So my point, Mike, this should be considered a closer race than it is by many people. We couldn't even find odds for this in the sports books, because I think it's been, according to our producer, he couldn't find it. He said he thinks it's been taken down because Paige Beckers was such a huge favorite. But I am saying I looked at the numbers. I crunched the numbers for you, Notre Dame fans, and it's closer than I think people are acting like it is.
All right, you know what? We're always happy to espouse Sonia Citron propaganda on this podcast. Our girl Sony has finally, I've been getting more of the credit she deserves overall. But you're right. This should absolutely be a close race. She has been a revelation this season in Washington. And just because everyone came in and Paige Beckers had been, anointed since her freshman year at UConn. And obviously things had changed that, and people expected a lot from the number 1 overall pick coming in. But that doesn't mean things don't change. Like we said with Ian, no one gives a damn about your stars once you get to campus, and no one gives a damn about your draft pick position once we get into the actual games and see production. So justice for Sonia. Let's go.
All I'm saying is we should have the conversation. It should be a conversation. It shouldn't be, Paige Beckers having by far and away the best season a rookie's ever had. Sonia Citron's been a hugely important piece of that Mystics team. I mean, their wins total going into the season was like 12 games or something. And her and Kiki Iriafen have turned them into a playoff team. So much so that they've traded 2 really good players this season, because they're like, wow, well, we don't need them because Sonia Citron and Kiki Iriafen are playing so well, these 2 rookies. So just wanted to throw that out there for Notre Dame fans. Sonia Citron has just been having an incredible season. She's unbelievable to watch play. And I think it's a conversation that we should be having. So we are having it currently on the Echoes, and you can only get it here, Mike, because I'm not seeing this conversation many more podcasts. Just on toxictwitter.com is where I've seen it. And if you talk about it there, the page stands come after you. So I'm probably not going to go online for the rest of the week now.
No, I tell you what, our YouTube comments, a much safer place to have this conversation. Our ratings and reviews on Apple, a much easier place to espouse your Sonia Citron takes, so you don't have to deal with the vitriol of what those websites have become. So come over here, engage accordingly. We are a civil discourse space when it comes to an important conversation, and I'm glad we're having it. Another important conversation that I wanted to have, Jess, while we shout out former Notre Dame greats. Love seeing a little pub for Molly Huddle, the 10-time All-American at Notre Dame, who got mentioned in an article that came out talking about the way that distance athletes have begun to fuel themselves, which is a way I believe we have talked about on this podcast. My big fat ass used to fuel himself before Notre Dame games, and that is with the glory and the majesty of Rice Krispie treats. She had the dynamite quote that said, before she lines up for a marathon, professional runner Molly Huddle has another goal: to consume an entire box of 16 Rice Krispie treats. We can get into the science that goes behind this, the quick energy, how much, distance athletes are utilizing even more carbs in the way they get ready for races. But the bulldog mentality it's got to take to power through 16 Rice Krispies. As someone that's had his weight certified for that for a long time in my life, that is still a difficult task. And Molly is much smaller than I am. So nothing but respect for my president.
Absolutely. There are scientists out there that are trying to come up with the best formulas to refuel athletes. And athletes are like, we're good. We have Rice Krispie treats. And I respect that. I was talking to one of your former teammates not long ago, Mike, who was telling me about the sheer number of Rice Krispie treats he used to eat on the nights before games. And he was saying it as if it was a bad thing. And now I wish I could go back in time and tell him, no, you were properly fueling your body. I mean, maybe he probably had like 4 or 5 boxes, but it turns out this is not a bad treat, and not a bad sweet treat to have before a workout.
It was a beautiful thing. Taking back from the snack at Notre Dame at night, the Rice Krispie treats, the Uncrustables, sitting in our beds like little piggies and throwing the wrappers in the middle of the floor, so that when you got up at midnight or 3 o'clock in the morning to go take that pee because you were super hydrated, it sounded like leaves crunching on the forest floor beneath your feet. But in actuality, they were just delightful Rice Krispie wrappers. apparently letting us know we were locked in and ready for gameplay, Jess. That's my biggest takeaway.
My favorite thing about this is that you just called it snack. Like, it wasn't like you called it like snack time or like meal time. Like, it was just snack.
Well, I mean, that's what it was listed as on our schedule there. The snack time we had
like a bunch
was
of toddlers.
Oh, Jess, I promise you, it gets more toddlery. So for night games, and we had 7 of them my 5th year, senior year, but we had a lot of them because it's Notre Dame. You end up in prime time a lot. You would have this like 4-hour block after we would get done with our last meeting before it was time to come together then and head over to the stadium. And so for a lot of us, that was nap time. You would go back, black out the curtains in the room, and go to sleep for like 3 hours. But you also had snack time right before that. And for that one, me, Dane Chris, Trevor Robinson, and a bunch of those guys would go and have the same. It was barbecued chicken, macaroni and cheese, and then we would sit around and have milk and cookies. Like, we would literally sit in a circle and have milk and cookies like we were in elementary school, and then go play a nationally televised football game. It was incredible.
Adorable. And also, it really does explain a lot of the things that we saw when we turned on those football games sometimes, Mike.
You know what? You saw a lot of wins at the end of that time.
Not according to the NCAA. Apparently, none of them count. So I love the visual of getting up to pee in the middle of the night and just stepping on empty Rice Krispie treats on the way to the bathroom in a hotel room in South Bend. That is my favorite thing to think about. Just mountains and mountains of Rice Krispie treat wrappers. Good for you guys. God, I'm so jealous. I'm so jealous.
I am too, because my metabolism doesn't work like that anymore. And so I wish I'd have enjoyed that more in the time.
Oh, God. All right, Mike. We have another episode coming next week. What do you want to finish this out with? We got any more football talk for the listeners?
You know what? I just want to say thank you to some of the listeners. Like, people in our YouTube comments have been really engaging right here. Junior 921 said the fan-player interaction between Mike and Jess seems like a winning strategy. Beer combo was great. I used to sneak alcohol into the stadium with something called boozy binoculars, which I imagine are like those fake binoculars. Did you watch Stick on Apple?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I didn't mean that. Did you watch the new Happy Gilmore?
No, I also have not watched that.
So Adam Sandler, spoiler alert, no one will care about, in that movie goes through a bit of an alcoholic stretch where every item that he uses has the ability to twist off a cap and then drink out of. Like, that's the whole bit. So this seems to fall very much in line with that. So that one was great. Mike Doriesco says, love the podcast. Mike was a big fan of you and your dad. Makes things so much more interesting to have you all ND alum. Love sharing the football experience. Jess, you seem like you're so much fun.
I hope I'm as good a hang as Ian is. Mike, can I read my favorite YouTube comment that we've ever gotten? We were talking about the green jersey, Irish wear green game against Boise State. Big Killa 2608 said, the green jerseys we wear for Boise State should match the field in colors so they know how it feels. I died laughing when I read that. That is the funniest thing I've ever read.
Checkmate, Boise State.
Got
your asses. All right, well.
Do you like it now?
Smurf Turf doesn't feel so fun. It actually is really fun in an awesome little college football
it's pretty
court,
unique.
but we'll take it. So all that is to say, thank you to everyone for continuing to like, subscribe, comment, all those different things. It helps us against the algorithm. It's fun hearing from everybody, all those stories. Keep them coming. Follow us at the Echoes ND Pod on all social media as well. Jess, anything that I'm missing?
No, Mike. I mean, we are barreling towards college football season. We have week 0 games this weekend, Farmageddon. Stanford and Hawaii. Stanford and Hawaii to round out our nights. I mean, I think that's the only team Notre Dame will face this season that's playing this weekend. So I don't know. If you need something to watch, we'll see how Stanford's doing with Ben Goldbrinson starting at quarterback, I think. So, I mean, maybe we'll see him later this season. I don't know. I'm a sicko. I'm excited to watch it.
Yes, I'm wearing a Sickos Committee shirt, so I fully agree. Happy week 0 to everybody. Thank you for checking us out. We'll talk to you next week. Go Irish.